Hey everybody, it's Jim Johnson here, your host at Contractor Radio and head coach at Contractor Coach Pro, where we help contractors get control of their business so they can grow their business and achieve that personal and financial freedom they were chasing when they started their business. And I'm really excited about our guest. Each time I bring a guest on, I get to talk to him a little bit before we get started. And this guy has followed that roadmap of going out and becoming an entrepreneur and understanding that he needed to get control. And once he was able to get control of his business and lead that business well, that business grew, and it grew really fast. And I can't wait to get to that story. And our guest today, he was brought to us by one of our coaches, Chuck Toki, our sales guru. And he's like, you got to talk to this guy. You got to share this guy's story with everybody else, because it's a story that I think a lot of us get into. I think it's this story of we've got some experience from an installation side of things, and we're good at it, and we start to realize we can't do that forever, whether that's walk on a roof or climb a ladder or swing a hammer. And we start thinking about, hey, this is the thing I know. I'm going to go open a business. What does it take from there to actually make that thing successful in an industry where 70 to 80% go out of business in the first 3 years? Well, our guest has a bit of a roadmap he's going to share with us today. There's some pretty cool topics that we're going to talk about. But before we do that, we've got to keep the lights on, so we'll go ahead and listen to a message from one of our favorite sponsors, Get the Referral.
Who doesn't love getting more referrals? GTR will make your referral game stronger than ever with our 4-step process. First, engage with customers through job status updates and push notifications. Then, motivate your advocates to send referrals and earn rewards. Third, track and manage all of your results through your company's dashboard. And finally, sit back and enjoy achieving up to 40 times ROI. GTR is the #1 referral platform for contractors, so book your demo today at getthereferral.com.
Hey everybody, that was Get the Referral. And if you are having a problem getting more referrals, turning those referrals into jobs, engaging with those referrals and rewarding the referrer, Get the Referral might just be the choice. In the show notes down below, you'll find a link. You can click that link, get you a Contractor Coach Pro discount, and check them out. It's worth doing a demo with them for sure. Now, our guest is coming on today, but before I bring him on, I got to bring everybody up to date on a little bit of something. If they listen to our podcast on a consistent basis, they may remember about 3 months ago, I got tricked into doing 75 hard. And if you don't know what 75 hard is, that is a program or a challenge for 75 days to work out twice a day, 45 minutes each time, at least 3 hours apart from each other. One of them has to be outside, regardless of the temperature or conditions or rain or lightning or tornadoes. You got to do it. And then you also have to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book. You have to drink a gallon of water. You have to no alcohol. You have to be on a diet that's clean for 75 days, and you got to take a progress pic each day. Well, today is day 75, and I did it. All I got to do is finish today. I got one more workout. I got to drink my water, read my book. Oh, actually, book reading is done for the day, and just proves that if you have enough of a want to on something, that you want to get ahead of things, that discipline's there. That mental toughness is there. And that's what I learned from it more than anything else, was the mental toughness aspect of doing something I don't really want to do and figuring out how to work that out in my mind, so I'm not listening to that little negative voice going, oh man, you don't have to do this for anybody else. You don't have to get up today. You don't have to do that work. You've made a lot of improvement. Why do you have to finish? All those things are being said every second. And you're like, nope, I got to finish. I got to get done. And so today's that day. I want to thank Jonathan Ruzicka, the physical therapist we had on that challenged me to it. I'm going to call him out a little bit too, because he didn't finish. But 75 hard is complete, and I've decided I'm going to do something a little bit different from everybody else. I haven't seen anybody do this before. I'm going 100 hard. So 100 days of keeping it up, and then from there, we'll have some other surprises for you in the future. Enough about me and that. If you want to reach out to me about it, feel free to message me. We want to talk to our guy today, and our guy is John O'Leary. He is the founder, creator, the all being of O'Leary, but also the all nothing of O'Leary, as he described himself. That is a guy that we definitely want to talk to today and see how he went from being an installer to being a fairly successful contractor. John, welcome aboard, man. Glad to have you.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, and sorry to put the whole 75 hard thing, but there's been a few people, there's like 2 or 3 that are keeping up with it. So I figured I'd share with them, like, if they watch that other podcast, they're kind of maybe wondering, like, whatever happened with that. Well, today's the day.
Right.
It's odd that it's actually on podcast day. So kind of cool to see that come to a finish, kind of. So, John, tell us a little bit of like how you kind of got started and how you got to where you are today.
Well, I came from a carpentry background. My dad was a carpenter at a Korean War. He was a builder for a lot of years. And then as the building business went down, he went into remodeling. And I was about 10 years old. Things weren't good. So my mom had to go back to work. So I got to go to the job site. And, you know, I learned the trade throughout, you know, my younger years into high school. And the day of my graduation of high school, I registered my business, you know, and started installing. Did a lot of new construction vinyl siding. Did some remodeling. Always kept my hand into remodeling. So that's kind of how I got the start with it all.
So straight from high school, you started a business. Like, did you get any advice on that? Did you have somebody that helped you walk through, like, and what did you create? Did you create an LLC? Did you create a sole proprietorship? What'd you do?
Sole proprietorship. And back in the day, you went down to the county, you filled out the form, and you were in business. You know?
In business.
You had your tax ID number, you mailed it in, and you got it back, and you started paying taxes like an adult, you know? So yeah, it was not a lot of advice back then. It was just that I didn't want to work as an employee for anybody, you know, or even for my own father. I wanted to be a subcontractor for him, so I had to have my own stuff.
So you knew that at a pretty early age. I wouldn't say that's the route for most people. Most people would go, I'm going to graduate college. I'm going to go one of 2 ways. I'm going to go secondary educate, or what do you call it? Higher education, or I'm going to go into the workforce. But you said, hey, I'm going to start a business. Was that because of everything you had learned before? Like, you felt like you could do that, or what drove that?
It kind of the easier path, because school wasn't for me. Barely made it, you know, to graduation in high school. Work release, I was making more money my senior year than the principal of the school was making, you know, and I was installing. So I knew there was money as an installer, and it really wasn't I don't know if I had much of a choice, because I would have never qualified to go to a college as far as grades go and stuff like that. But I had the use of my hands. I could use my hands, and I was good at it.
So what were you installing? Roofing, siding? What were you doing?
I was in the transition of aluminum siding to vinyl siding in the late 70s into the 80s, high school graduation, 84. So I saw that transition of aluminum into vinyl. Okay. And then we were roofing. We were doing roofing back then too.
So those are physically demanding jobs, roofing especially. But siding, man, you're up on ladders, you got the plank in between, the jacks, and all the other stuff that you guys set up. And I would call that both pretty physically demanding. So you did that for how long? How long were you doing that?
35 years.
Now, were you constantly installing, or were you ever in like a foreman position, or did you have more than one crew? Like, how'd that look?
In the heyday of the new construction in the 90s, I had like 3 crews, but I was always on one of the crews as an installer. I was the fastest guy. You don't take your best guy and make him a manager, you know? So yeah, I pretty much 6-7 days a week. That's what I knew, because we were brought up that if you had work, you did work. You didn't, you know, if there was work to do, you went and did it. So,
yeah, I was brought up that way too. It's still in my blood. Like, if there's work to be done, hey, just go and get it done.
Right.
Whether it's what you want to do or not is not really all that important.
Right.
And that's a different generation. I really think that's a generational thing. And maybe we can talk about that a little bit later in this. Like, are you seeing the same things I'm seeing along those lines? But let's go ahead and go down the road. So, how long were you an installer or subcontractor?
So I installed from 1984 till 2017. I took 3 years off. I had a couple heart surgeries, and 2008 I came back at it. November 2008. So just a little bit of a hiatus. I worked for a builder as a efficiency manager, so I was still in the trade. And 2017, my body was about done. I was cooked. Knees, back, there wasn't much left.
And so you decided to do something about it. What'd you do?
Well, there was a crossroads, and I had joked with a friend of mine who owns a car dealership. I said, "Hey, I'd come sell cars for you. I'd probably be pretty good at it." And then I went to a seminar, a GAF seminar, and there was this guy there, Chris Mooney. He knows I say his name. He's a corporate trainer for GAF, and he's like telling us about the value of how valuable we are as master elite and certified contractors, whether it be, any brand, but he was talking about GAF, obviously. And, he got me to go home and raise my prices $100 a square that week. And then take money. I never took money. People give me a handshake and a bag of money, So we left his seminar. I raised my prices $100 a square, and I sold 3 jobs that Saturday. And I started using sub crews more. I had used them in the past. And then what I was doing then is I was running the jobs. So I was selling the jobs, running the jobs, collecting the money, dump trailers, permits, doing all that stuff. But I wasn't physically installing.
So that's how I see most people get started. They kind of walk this path of either they're an installer or they're a great salesperson, and one of the two. And they go, hey, I have this opportunity that I can actually do this as a business, not do the physical labor of it, or actually be the owner of it. And so they step out and they start kind of running it more like a business, but not necessarily a business just yet, because they're still heavily involved. They're the key player. They're the sales manager, they're the production manager, they're the finance manager, they're the operations, they're all of it, right? They got all these hats on there. Did you feel like that as you were like moving from subcontractor to full contractor?
It was an interesting transition, because the guys that were subbing I had worked with. I literally climbed off the roof one day and told the main guy, I'm not coming back tomorrow. I gotta do something different. I hurt too much. So my transition was, I've been told, kind of like a survivalist as an installer. You're as an installer owner, you always have to get that next job so you can eat. As a salesperson, entrepreneur, I got to sell more. I got to sell more, and the money will come. So that transition, never easy, but I had the value. I was selling the value. I already had my price up. So I wasn't the guy that was going in trying to get these jobs at the low ball number just to work.
Right.
I was making money.
By raising the $100, that created that margin for you, right? Like, hey,
right.
I'm gonna get something out of this if I go sell it. So that went on for how long?
Just not very long, because right after that I went to New Orleans, and there was this guy, Chuck Toki. I think you know him. He was doing a seminar, 90-minute seminar at IRE at the Roofing Expo, and my wife we wanted to go to the same seminars, but she wanted to see a guy in the other room who we have a lot of respect for. And I didn't know Chuck, but I liked the description of his seminar. So when the seminar was over, my wife comes to the looking all over for me, because usually seminar's over, I'm out the door. I'm first guy out the door. Where's the coffee? Where's the donuts? And so I'm still sitting in the room. I'm the last guy in the room. She comes in. She says, everything all right? I said, yeah, we got to hire this guy. So he offered a 1-hour free consultation. And about a week after the show, I called him up. I talked to him. and he's, he says, you got to get a salesperson. You got to get the sales part of it off of your plate so you can concentrate on the install and the other side. So we made arrangements. I paid him. He came out. And it was funny because I never used an iPad presentation. I didn't even own an iPad. He came out. He was training my first sales guy. And he goes, well, you need iPads. He says, you need some iPads or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that afternoon, we literally went and bought 2 iPads and all the stuff we needed. And when he was showing me the first presentation, I was like, nobody's going to buy this crap. Nobody's going to believe this stuff. But I promised my wife that if I hired this guy, I would do everything that he told me to do, because it was, Chuck knows what he's doing and he's a good guy and he's worth what he asks for his services, no doubt. But it was a lot of money to me. I was an installer. I had to drive nails to make that money. Yeah. So it seemed like it was a lot of money to me, but the value of what he gave me was priceless, So I got this iPad and I go out to my first appointment. I didn't know who the people were. And I'm showing them the presentation. And it's like the first time they saw Star Wars. Yeah. And I'm like, Jesus, they like this stuff, So here we are today with 5 salespeople, a custom engaged presentation. And my guys are highly skilled and trained on it, because it works.
That is so awesome. Like, to hear that story, because I'm going to guess as an installer, you weren't like Mr. Technology and things like that.
Not at all. So the funny thing was we get these iPads and he's showing us how you write your contracts on them. And I'm here for 3 hours trying to figure out how to get the pen to work. And all you got to do is plug it in and it asks you if you want to pair the pen. But I charged it from the wall, so I didn't know. And so he's at the hotel and I'm calling him. I'm like, hey, can you tell me how to get this pen to work? Because we wanted to practice before the next day. So yeah, the technology and stuff, I'd use the computer and a cell phone, but nothing like, I just told somebody today, I was in the pilot program for Eagle View and E360 Hover. I was one of the first 40 users of Hover when it came out, E360. So I've seen this evolution of stuff. What was a CRM? He asked me if we had a CRM. I literally hired Job Progress that night.
It's amazing. It's amazing the value that technology brings. Funny story about Eagleview. I saw the original press release on that. I immediately bought a plane ticket that day and flew to Seattle and walked in their door that same day. So I saw it first thing in the morning. I was on a plane by noon. I was in Seattle by afternoon. And I beat it in the door before 5 o'clock. And I said, hey, I got this cool piece of software that's really neat. I want what you do in that. Right. Come in here and make that much easier. And they agreed. And that was kind of springboarded me working in the technology aspect of things.
Right.
So, It's cool that you saw, you've seen that growth. It's amazing, how technology has changed in the last really 10 years or so. 2009 was kind of when things started to pick up a little bit. So it's 13 years now. Wow, 13 years, crazy. I remember going into people's offices about a CRM and saying, hey, yeah, everything's going to be on the cloud. And no, it ain't.
The cloud.
What cloud? And who's got access to my stuff? And they went on a certain
right.
But now everything, everything we do is on the cloud, right? So before we hopped on, we were talking about a couple of things, and you were talking about how you wore a lot of hats. It was really, in those first couple of years, you kind of gave me the number. Give those numbers again, the growth pattern for O'Leary Roofing.
So 2017, my last year installing, was around 600,000 as an installer. 2018, we'll call it my first growth year, was around 800,000. Then we went to 1.7 in 19. 20, we did 3.2. 21, we did 5.8 million.
Wow. Those are almost double ups all the way through.
Right. But the key to it is it's very important, Jim, that people understand. A $10 million business really doesn't mean a lot. It's that net. It's that net profit that means something. So my $5 million business at 20% net is the same business as the $10 million business with half the net, with 10% net. So the thing is you don't have to have a $10 million business to make money. And you do half the work.
Yeah, we have a little almost tagline for that. It's not about what you generate; it's about what you make.
Right.
So I'd rather make more money doing less jobs is really the idea behind the whole process. And we get so many companies. They come to us and they're like, "Hey, we want to talk to you about coaching." We're like, "Hey, what's the dream? What are you trying to accomplish?" I want to be, a $10 million company, or I want to be a 30, or I want to be a 50 or 100. I'm like, well, how much do you plan on making out of that? That's the key to all this. What's the actual goal? What are we trying to accomplish from a financial standpoint? Because I've seen plenty of 10 million, 20 million, $30 million companies that don't make anything.
Right.
So that's the bigger thing that you need to consider. And so how did you figure that out? That part of like, hey, I want to be profitable along the way.
That's funny because we met a guy that has a program and he teaches all of the aspects of making profit with a profit model. How many salesmen, your closing rate, your NSLI to make sure that you're not wasting your leads, your overhead, your cost of goods sold, and putting that all together so that how much you're going to make at the end of the year, starting January 1. Now, right now, I know how much I'm going to make this year. On December 31st, as long as we follow the program, we met our first quarter numbers. But I know where I'm going to be at the end of the year. We're slated for 7.5.
It's predictable because of the number of people that you've plugged into the equation, knowing what you're going to be charging. Okay, awesome.
Yep, average ticket price, closing rate, how many leads we're going to run. And amazingly enough, we cut our salesmen back from 3 appointments a day to 2 because it was rough for them. They knew it was rough. We knew it was rough. But so we ran about, I'm going to guess, this is a guess, 30% less leads than we had projected. The closing rate went up with less leads.
Yeah, you feel like you need to get them closed, right?
They're happier. No, they're happier. They're happier running 2 a day,
So how important is that happiness of your salespeople?
It's very important because they are the key to the success. When we're training them, their success is the company's success. There's no 2 ways about it. If you don't have a good sales system in place, it doesn't matter who you are or how good you are. You have to have a sales system in place. You have to be able to duplicate it every time you hire somebody, and it has to be the same throughout. And that's where an advantage of working with a guy like Chuck, that he trains everybody exactly the same, on the same presentation, the same way with the same words. They do get into having their own little, their own little way of coming across, but we make sure that they stick to the bones of it,
Well, there's a reason we brought Chuck onto the team. And why we're doing this top rep thing. Obviously, a lot of skill, a lot of experience. When we met, we're like, whoa, you're a lot like me and I'm a lot like you.
Right.
We have a little bit of a different vibe to us, but very similar in our approaches. We kind of added a couple of things that he hadn't seen. He brought a couple of things we hadn't seen. We built this amazing sales training system. It's been very awesome. And watching him deliver that is like watching somebody do artwork, right?
Well, he's selling the snow to the Eskimos, you know.
Yeah, and he's great at it. And what's
Yeah.
been really cool to watch with Chuck over the last, I don't know, we've been working together for wow, 9 months or so. I'm going on a year maybe.
Right.
And watching him start to click to that person on the other side of the table, we're serving them. We're helping them make a solution and understanding the responsibility of what we have is if I don't get them to be my customer, somebody else out there is going to, and are they as good as we are? Because if they're not, we do a disservice. Do you agree with that?
I do. And the thing is the hardcore one call close, in my opinion, and I don't know if you consider me an expert, I think it's going away. I think that hardcore, you know, the salesman doesn't leave until they kick him out of the house or he gets a yes. I think that that's going away a little bit. And we try for it, but if it doesn't happen, we're okay.
Yeah.
We'll rehash, follow up. We'll do what we have to.
Well, there's this cool thing out there. It's called Facebook. And there's this other thing out there called Google. And if you're the guy that pins people up against the wall until they tell you to leave, your reviews are not going to go too well. And so I think there's this almost nice balance going now where we actually have to go out there and be a problem solver. We actually have to go out there and give a great presentation. We actually have to deliver on that. Like, hey, this is what we're selling and our thing is better than anybody else's. And when we go to deliver it, we actually do, which is unheard of. There's lots of great guys out there closing on pie in the sky. This thing's going to be amazing, and it's not so amazing, right? And before this ability to really review and measure people that way, they didn't really care. Now you have to. It's not an option anymore. The bar got raised is the best way for me to put it. Would you agree with that?
Yep. 2010, I said to somebody that was helping me out with my stuff, I said, listen, I got to be on the first page of Google because that's the thing, you know? Mm-hmm. And she helped us and we got going. And now we have a full-blown web company helping us that does our website and stuff. But they tell me it's not ordinary, but we have 320 5-star Google reviews. We are a 5-star company. But when people call, that first thing when we say, you know, who can we thank for you calling today? They always say we saw the reviews.
I want to take a pause right there because I knew we were going to get to this somehow or another. We were going to get to this because this is a little bit of a story that Chuck told me, and you said something that really stuck out to me. I want everybody to like hear it, but I got to play a commercial first, real quick. We'll come right back. You cool with that?
I'm cool.
All right, awesome. Let me get that in because we can't forget about our sponsors. We love them. They're great, and they do a great job for us. So we'll get them going here.
Want more 5-star reviews from your customers? At Signpost, we make it easy for your customers to give you great reviews on Google, Facebook, Yelp, and more. Our software connects with industry-specific solutions, driving even more reviews from your customers. Drive loyalty and repeat business by sending the right messages at the right times to your prospects and customers. Message your contacts from anywhere, anytime, using text, photos, and video all in one app. Check on progress with campaigns and review generation across Google, Facebook, and Yelp. Visit signpost.com and get your demo today.
I couldn't have planned that any better if I wanted to.
That was awesome.
It just happened to be what was on the schedule as Signpost. It's like we started talking about reviews. That's what Signpost does, is help you engage with your client, automates a few things for you to make that experience a little bit better for the client. So guys, if you're listening and you're wanting to get reviews like John has here, 5-star reviews, Signpost might be a good choice for you. John, if I heard you correctly, I want to like drive this home. You said you were a 5-star contractor on Google. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we actually, we actually got a 4-star once, and And we deserved it, Jim. We did something and we deserved it. And we should have got a 1-star, and we felt bad. There was nothing we could do, but the customer was okay with us. He wasn't mad at us. We made good on everything. He had a good roof. And then about 2-3 months later, a big windstorm came and a tree fell through one of his skylights that we had put in. And he asked us to come back and fix that skylight in the middle of this storm. And I did. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, that 4-star you left me? Did we deliver 5-star service today for you? So we earned it. I earned a 5-star,
So most people aren't really all that upset about a 4-star. Like, hey, we did pretty good. We at least got like, if it gets below that, we have concerns. But
yeah,
what stuck out, and it was like somebody hit my toe with a hammer.
It was we lost sleep over it, and it was our fault. An installer had taken a skylight out, and what looked like a pile of snow on the side of the driveway, there was actually a stone wall. And he threw the skylight down in it, and it exploded in the guy's yard. So there's these little tiny pieces of glass. We vacuumed his whole yard with shop vacs, but we still couldn't, we messed up. Yeah. We messed up, and it'll never happen again. But
I don't think people get 5-star. They're like 4.8, 4.7, 4.9, 4.6, 4.4. Like for me, if I'm looking at, it's one of the first things I do. If I'm looking to get something done, I go look at the reviews, and I look at all of them. I look at the 5 stars and I look at the 1 stars to see, what's going on there. But I have a lot more experience than most people in that, because it's what we teach, what we do about having a great business. Nobody would be able to find a 1-star review about you, right?
Not for we actually worked for. We do have a couple people were disappointed because we wouldn't take their job.
That's okay.
And then they were mad because they didn't get an O'Leary roof.
That I can live with.
And we understand that that's just the way it is. But when your house is full of mold and you want us to put 2 fans in and walk away, no, we're not doing it. Because what are you going to do? Say the fans caused the mold later, and then we're up for a big lawsuit?
Yeah.
So that was one of the ones we had, and there's another one from way back. And we're not perfect, Jim. We make mistakes. We got some red tickets sitting on the desk down there. But
it sounds like you set the expectations correctly. That if something does go wrong, we're going to be on top of it. Is that fair to guess?
We do. Yeah, we do stay on top of it. Yeah.
How bad does it bother you if you get a 4 or a 3 or a 2 or 1?
So I'm in the mastermind meeting, and I announced to everybody that we feel held hostage to it. And the group all picked up their phone at the same time and said, we're going to fix that right now. In other words, they were going to go give us some 2- and 3-star reviews. They talked us off the ledge. If I get an unfounded 5-star review, we'll answer to it. If I get if it's a 2-star or something, we'll answer to it if it's unfounded on the reviews. If I get a founded 1-star review, there's going to be hell to pay, because the customer experience that we provide to everybody and the processes that we've written down and taken, a couple of years to make sure that we're giving these people these processes to follow. If they don't follow it, that's when you're going to get the negative. And our crews are the best. If I could find better guys, I would replace them. I pay them well. The expectation is if they make a mistake, I'll cancel their install the next day, and I'll have 5 guys go back for a 15-minute repair, and they lose the day. They know that because we want it done right,
Well, you know how important that is for the next job and for the word of mouth, and especially in retail. It's super important. Like you said earlier, the reason a lot of people went with you is because of the reviews. First off, I just thought that was cool. I don't think anybody gets that wired up over it. I'm one of those people, man. If I get a 1-star, I'm like, what is going on? And it has happened to us too.
You can't sleep at night. I mean, you're like, what could I have done? And so this guy or that guy could have done this better. Or they could have done that better. And then it comes all the way down to a crew, labor, or something really ridiculous, and that it was completely unavoidable, and and then
it's my key metric. It really is. My number one key metric is those reviews. That's somebody saying, hey, we did them right. And if we get one that's below a 5, I'm like, where did we drop the ball?
Exactly.
And they're going to get a call from me personally.
Yep.
Now, the only time we haven't gotten a 5-star review has been a 1-star, much like you. And that's because it was somebody working for one of our clients.
Right.
That we found something nefarious going on.
Right.
And we got fired over it. And then
Right.
they went and blew us up with a 1-star review.
Yeah.
You just answer it with
you answer it.
You answer it smartly and things go pretty well. It's funny, they just kind of disappear after a time because the person doesn't want to look like a dum-dum.
I had a competitor just put a billboard 100 yards from my parking lot on a major highway, and he has 2.7 5-star reviews on Google. And I said, I wish they all would put billboards up right next to our building. and that's because when you go in the house, what's the first thing that we have in our tool belt, is his reviews. Who do you want to hire? 2.7 or a 5.
Yeah, if you're competing against somebody, it's not all that hard to say, hey, here's ours. It's right here on Engage. Click that and see what it is. Yeah. Now, who else are you considering? Let's take a look at those.
Yeah.
And what kind of experience do you want? So what was cool about this is you were an installer, right? You're working on the job, swinging a hammer, doing that. Then you kind of grew into what I would call a full-fledged contractor, but you're still doing a lot of the work as far as like sales. And when we first get in, it's like, I'm sales manager, I'm production manager, I am, a manager of all things, and it ends up owning us. Did you ever feel like that? Like the business you were at a point where you were working a bunch of hours just to do all that, or did you get a hold of it before that got a hold of you?
It has consumed us, my wife as well. She was in the natural organic food business, and a few years back says, "Oh, I'll help you with your business." Now she's looking to hire an office manager so that she can, get some more time out of the office. But it does consume you, and it's been a long road. But I'm starting to see light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not actually the train coming the other way now.
So what were some of the key things because you told us one, right? You're like, Chuck said, you need to get a sales guy. So I got a sales guy. I got that kind of off of me. And so what did that look like over time? You got sales off of you first because, and my assumption, you tell me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you were pretty good at sales yourself, but you were better at the installation side.
Well, I had to get out of production as well. So the sales was first, and then production manager was second. And introducing him to the crews that I had worked with for years, that was a challenge. But now now it's working really well. So then to get out of, I was a sales manager up until this past year, and we brought a sales coordinator from our office and promoted her to sales manager. And here's another perfect example of Chuck trained her as a sales manager.
Totally different skill set.
So that she could do the job properly and not compete with the guys, So she manages the 5 salespeople. So I'm not even allowed to go to the sales meetings anymore.
How does that grab you?
Well, it's okay because I've been trying to find ways to, cut my hours back to, 40 hours a week,
work a real job, right?
And so this just recently, we're about 2 months in, I hired an operations manager, an integrator, and he took over my office, and I literally packed my stuff up in a cardboard box and brought it home. So I have a home office, and I work at the conference table, and I go down when I'm needed, if there's a meeting and something like that.
So it's this whole idea of, we first started business, there's a lot of sacrifice, we're working in it, and we start to get a lot of pain, identifying what pain to get rid of first. I think that's always the challenge. And we work with our contractors through a lot of that. There's a lot of fear too, right? hey, I'm going to go put this sales guy out there. Is he going to do what I do? And is he going to do it as well? I'm going to put this sales manager in place. Are they going to be as good? Like, how did you get through any of those fears, or did you have any?
Well, nobody could ever sell a roof for me. Ask Chuck. I told him nobody's ever going to be able to sell a roof for me. And I learned how to train these guys. All 5 of my guys did not come from the industry.
How important do you think that is?
I don't think it matters. I think it's worse sometimes because they'll come with bad habits. So, it's having the right people in the right seats is really important. And I've hired guys to train them for sales, and about 2 weeks in it, told them that this isn't for you. You have to go, but you have to be able to make those decisions. You got to make the decisions and be okay with them and stick with them. And you can't, if you take a lot of time to analyze things, it's okay to analyze things. But if you take a lot of time to analyze things, you're burning daylight. You gotta make the decisions of who to be in what seats. And if it's not working out, do everything you can to coach them to it. But if they're not coachable, you have to move on.
Yeah, let's talk about those decisions, because that's something we talked about before we hopped on. Like, you're not scared to make a decision.
No, and I've been told by my wife especially that I'll make a decision, and if it goes bad, I just make another decision to fix it. It's faster to do that than it is to sit there and second guess yourself and analyze that. And you talked about fear a minute ago. My fear of failure is so high that it's debilitating sometimes. That's why I make decisions, because if I'm just sitting there, nothing's going to happen.
Right.
If you start making those decisions, stuff starts happening. And even if it goes a little bit crooked or something, you can make another decision to get it on a straight line. But if you don't make a decision to start moving forward, you're going to sit there stagnant.
I wrote that down as the title of this podcast, how to make stuff start happening. And this idea of making decisions, it tends to be something that a lot of people really struggle with. Some of us are a bit more natural at it, and we're like, hey, I'm going to run with this and see how it goes, right? And usually that decision is one step closer to where you want to be. It may not be perfect, but then the next decision's a little better. I found that if I'm indecisive, I get a bit of a lack of trust of my people too. And even if I make a bad decision, like, hey, we're going to do this, and that thing doesn't go well, as long as I own it, they're good with it.
Right.
Always. It's when I try to make excuses or I try to play it off on somebody else or any of that kind of stuff, like, hey, now I really lost trust. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Once in a while I'll hit a doozy, and right in a level 10 meeting, whatever I have to, I'll own up to it, But they know usually by the time I own up to it, it's already going in the right direction, because I don't take a lot of time to think about this stuff. And, and my experience in the business, I don't know everything there is to know about the numbers and the P&L and the balance sheet. I'm learning that stuff now. But as far as the rest of it goes, making sure the business is moving forward to take care of everybody. When I was an installer, I had to feed me and my family and maybe 2 laborers. Now I got 12 people down there and the crews. So
how do you carry that responsibility?
I don't worry about it a lot because I know who we are. I know how successful we are. And everybody in my company knows that they're not to worry until I worry. And I will tell them. And I've never had to tell them. If the phone doesn't ring for a week when it's cold, I'm walking around like it's, 70 degrees and sunny. And they're like, oh my God, the phone's not ringing. Nobody's calling and we don't have any leads. And I know the phone's going to ring because my experience is as soon as it warms up, it'll ring.
The process works.
Exactly. I'm like, get the Scrabble board out. Let's go to conference room.
Well, John, I can't wait to meet you one of these days.
You are. I will be in Denver with one of my sales guys. We are coming out to explore the Top Rep program. I know it's a great program, and when I saw there was an owner's side, there might be something for me. And continuing to learn, that's one of the things that any owner has to do. Is don't ever be that smartest guy in the room.
I try to be the dumbest. I try to be the dumbest guy
Yeah.
that's there to gain the most wisdom if I can. Surround yourself with great people like that.
Two of us are flying to Denver in one of the worst markets to fly, and all that. And if I get one sentence in 2 days, I'll be a happy guy when I leave.
Well, it sounds like you're pretty intuitive on the technology side of things. Like you kept your ear to the ground and you're willing to actually like, hey, okay, that seems pretty good. I'm going to try that out. There's some artificial intelligence stuff out there right now on the sales side of things. I think is going to trip your trigger. I can't wait for you to see it. It's I can't explain it. I'm not the right person, but when you go through that owner's deal, you'll see like we're working through those with those leaders and how to get the most out of your people, how to get the most performance without crushing them. There's a balance there. And so I think you'll enjoy that aspect of it. How do you know when it's off the rails? You're too long and all of a sudden there's a little, what are you looking at? What are your key things you're looking at?
This might not sound like I'm telling the truth, but off the rails to us is when we finish a job on Monday and the green sky doesn't get run till Thursday. Okay.
Somebody didn't follow the process.
Right. But that's what off the rails is. We haven't seen like a major, we stay on top of it. We have good people, and if we're having trouble with a sub or one of the employees is having trouble, we find out what the trouble is and we help them. And if it's just them, they, our production coordinator, this is the third person we've had there because we haven't been able, I can do that job. I can do all that job. And we split the job from a pre-install to a post-install production coordinator to just help them out and ease the pain. But that position is, really important before and after the job, and following the process and getting the right people there. And you can't be afraid to let them go if they're not, even though you're going to have to either do the job or train somebody to do the job. You're still going to be better off in the end. But,
so this idea of things not being off the rail and you're going, they don't really get off the rail. Like we're on top of it.
That's major.
What that is to me is it's a mirror image of the leader. Whoever like the main person is, it's a mirror image of them. And so my assumption is prior to even owning this business, you were pretty proactive about things. You planned things out pretty well. You were designing processes and this is the way we do things and educating people on that pretty well. Would that be a fair assessment?
It is. And that's why I fit the visionary on the EOS so well, because I work on the big relationships. I'm looking at, I'm buying accessories 3-4 months in advance because none of my suppliers can get them. So I found them. I found a place to buy them. So I buy them, instead of buying, $1 million houses and $500,000 boats, I buy accessories and get a better deal because I buy them in bulk, So those visionary things of looking in the future, I've been told I have a crystal ball and I can see it. And, I have that vision. When we hit our numbers the first quarter and everybody's talking about, leads are slow, this is slow, that's slow. I don't even have a little bit of concern about this year. Not in northeastern Pennsylvania when we hit our numbers, and one of the coldest. Yeah,
you guys didn't have a very good
year ever. and we hit them. I can't wait to see what second quarter brings. And we've been selling. I think we've sold 6 or 7 jobs since the first already.
What's the closing percentage? Just out of curiosity.
Last year was 36.
That's pretty dang good.
Yeah, 36.
That's pretty dang good.
And
Our
the
goal
other
is
one other
our
thing
goal is going
is,
to be to get you to 50 at top rep. That's our goal.
yeah, 50 though. It's funny that you mentioned that because we can talk about that another time too. But I like the 35, 36, and my guys like it.
I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong on this one, I'm going to guess again that you're looking at that 65% as people that maybe they weren't your client for whatever reason.
Exactly. We fire them. If they're not the right person, we call it firing the customer because they just aren't our customer. And we manage our pricing, our closing rate, and our install calendar. Once I start hitting that 10-week, we can't close it at 45% when we're 10 weeks out doing 4 roofs a day. We have a month of rain. We're out of business. So we have to manage all 3 of those things with price, the closing rate with price, and the install calendar. Because I'm not just going to throw 3 crews on to do more work. I'm going to raise the prices.
Makes some sense.
Right.
I would have a question on that. If you could consistently generate that type of production, would you bring on the crew?
Very carefully, I would. Because I'm comfortable. I'm not greedy. I'm comfortable with the amount that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And if we get 10 weeks out and I raise my margin 5%, and it might knock sales down to 32% closing rate or 30% closing rate.
But they're still making the same money.
Yeah, they might have sold one less. And one of my guys, my main guy's coming out with me. He says, yeah, but the rejection rate is higher. The no's are higher. And I'm like, well, you're just going to have to get over that because you're making the money,
Yeah, that would be an interesting part. I'd love to have that conversation with you, but that's one that we could probably spend some time on is that mentality, right? This mindset of, hey, I'm getting more no's. And it's almost like play major league. You said 350, man, you'd be all-star, right? In baseball, if you were hitting 350.
Right.
But you're getting told no 65% of the time. How does that play with what's going on inside of your head? And how do you lead that? How do you manage that? How do you keep their heads right? Any words of insight there?
If you're in northeastern Pennsylvania and you're taking home $200,000 a year gross, a couple no's.
Should be okay with that.
A couple no's is okay, because I've been told no my whole life. I've been told no about a lot of things my whole life, and I go out and work harder, and understanding that some of the stuff isn't going to work out so well, but
I think you had a guy tell you weren't going to be in business a year.
Yeah.
You shut it up. Nice job.
Yep. He got a copy of my first podcast. I emailed it to him.
Nice.
So, but yeah, he had a different vision. It's a different type of guy,
Mm-hmm.
But with the salesman, my team knows that once our calendar gets out, we have to manage that price and closing rate. We will raise the prices. They know it. And I raised my price last year, middle of the year. We were closing at like 32, 33%. We're 12 weeks out in June. I raised the price $40 a square. My closing rate goes to 47%. And I'm pulling my freaking hair out. They're still buying.
Well, that was a thing. Like, you get a lot of contractors complaining about the price increases. And so I'm like, I love them. I'm like, yes, thank you for the price increase because my price just went up and my margin is still the same, is more net money per job. Why in the world am I'm not excited about this? As long as you're moving that margin or adjusting the margin accordingly.
But if you think about it, we get a raise too, because if shingles go up $5 a square, we're on a markup, and we add $10 a square to our estimator. We're making more money, and we're doing the same amount of jobs, and the same work, and we're making more money too. The supply chain is the only thing that I wish the manufacturers would be more open about what they're doing for us. I live in the woods and I can't get hunter green, and nobody can tell me when I can get it. I got 10 customers that want hunter green. And if I got it, I could sign 10 contracts,
Yeah, they're in a pickle for sure. And I've talked to a lot of them. I'm pretty close with most of the manufacturers and distributors. And I'm going to take them at their word that they're doing everything they can.
Yep, I believe that.
And that's not a great answer for us.
Right.
It's like we like more verification, I guess. Like great answer, but when, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I want to set expectations with my clients.
Yep.
I do know there's hunter green available out there. Just it's not maybe in your particular market.
Not here. No.
So hey, buddy, I buy a lot of materials from you. Figure out what other market you can get that shipped in.
There's a not caring about O'Leary Roofing. So, and we're actually going to Northeast Expo tomorrow in Connecticut with GAF. But I always felt like the redheaded stepchild around roofing. Vinyl siding was a different story. I had territory managers that were that were awesome. They were the best of the best. They did anything we needed. They bent over backwards. But I don't know. I have a pretty good territory manager for GAF, but I just feel like I don't know a lot. I get that. I don't know. And somebody knows.
I'll send some of them I know this podcast, and let's see what they know. Maybe they can reach out and help. Hey, John, it's been awesome having you on today. I know we're bumping up against an hour here, and I don't want to take up a whole bunch of your time. But I think what you shared today is invaluable for those guys that are thinking about going from installer to contractor to really visionary owner. Like that's really where you're at now, where you're working on that business every day instead of working in it. You got people that are great doing what they do, which gives you the opportunity to do these things thinking way far in advance to make the business even better. And my like to see that just gives me joy. I love seeing contractors be successful and be successful business people, not necessarily successful contractors. Because if you can apply that to this, you can apply it to anything. So well done. High fives on that.
I appreciate that.
Thanks for being on the show.
One of the things that I would give advice to anybody who's an installer that thinks that they're going to, make this transition, they got to put the tool belt down and leave it down. I didn't pick it back up. I put some windows in, if I needed some extra cash, I did a little window job, or I would do a little job here and there. But I wasn't selling services for me to install.
Right.
I was only doing it like we ran out of money built on our renovation of our building, and I wanted to tile the 2 bathrooms, so I did a window job. But I'm saying you got to put the tool belt down and leave it down and work on this business and get it going. You can't flip flop back and forth. That's where I think the guys don't make it.
I think that. Because it's absolute belief. You got to be like, okay, I'm now going to do this, and that's what I'm going to do. Because I absolutely believe that that's the route that I need to go. I think it's a lack of some business knowledge from a leadership aspect and also from a financial acumen aspect. Those seem to be the 2 reasons most businesses go out of business. So great advice. I think that is a great way to end an awesome podcast today. So thanks for being on the show, John. I really appreciate it. And I cannot wait to see you in Denver at Top Rep Monday and Tuesday, April 11th and 12th. We're going to train a bunch of guys and hopefully transform a few lives and make things awesome for them too.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim.
All right, man. We'll see you in a couple of days.
Yep. We'll see.
Right. Have a good one. All right, everybody. That was Contractor Radio today. And we had John O'Leary from O'Leary Roofing, guy that went from installer to contractor to businessman. And I think that journey, that story is applicable to anybody that wants it badly enough. If you need help following that path and want to get to that in your business, I invite you to check out Contractor Coach Pro. Go to our website, contractorcoachpro.com, click on the assessment button there, and tell us a little bit about your business, and we'll do a free coaching session with you. We'll give you 2 or 3 things you can do right away. Whether you work with us or not, we want to see you succeed. That's what we're all about, is helping contractors get control of their business so they can grow it and achieve that personal and financial freedom that we're all chasing when we start a business. It was cool to see John achieve some of that. We want to see you achieve some of that. And thanks for listening to Contractor Radio. We'll see you on our next episode.